And we are live in five, four, three, two, one. Action. Welcome, Wizard, Warrior, Wanderer, Wayfarer, and Wildcat alike. I'm broadcasting from the phone today, so there's not going to be any ability for me to edit things, but it's good to see all of you again. I hope you're doing well on the 100-Day Magical Challenge, Pathways of the Magician. We have moved full in to the element of air, which is the suit of swords in the tarot. I'm reading from the Magical Tarot here. It says that the suit of swords stands for the quality, the breadth, and depth of a person's mentation. So it's all things connected with the intellectual, linear, sequential, causal, the tools of the mind, as it were. So we've had a little bit of an introduction to this in hypnoapotheosis when we worked on using self-hypnosis and learning the premise of hypnosis in order to be able to affect the other than conscious mind, right? The subconscious. And so in this section, we can be doing a little more of that. Today, I've got a special guest, my friend and colleague, professional hypnotherapist, Frater Tomas Sund. So I will bring him on with no further ado. Let me see if he's in the guest room and if I can pull him in. Did that work? Thomas, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, Frater Francis, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, sir. How about yourself?
Doing very, very well. Yeah, we are in the swords, the air, the intellect. So that's a very, very interesting aspect. I feel we've come from the earth, which was all about getting greater order in things. And I've created a meditation, which will be up on my YouTube channel very soon, and maybe you'll link to that as well. In fact, I'm creating guided meditations for all of these different elements, including spirit. But spirit, I'll wait and publish a little bit later, so that as everyone who's part of this challenge wants to take maybe 20 minutes and sort of center yourself and listen to my soothing voice, I suppose, and get a little bit of guidance into the element, then that's going to be up on my channel very soon, free of charge, of course. And then
Okay.
I'll put a little bit of extra information on Buy Me a Coffee, just like you're doing as well. So, I take a leaf from your book there.
Yeah, awesome. That'll help out a lot. And I want to remind people too to make sure to check us out on Lunar Light Entertainment to join the Discord. We keep the conversation going over
Mm.
there. Recently, you guys know that my laptop had trouble mounting my startup disk, so I'm not able to use my laptop right now, which prevents me from using the Discord. But hopefully, I'm going to get it fixed this weekend, and if not, I'm going to be getting myself a new laptop. So I will be back in the Discords with you guys. Um, the other thing is, yes, definitely check out the Buy Me a Coffee. We're putting material up there that is going to
Mm.
help people in better understanding the tarot. I know you developed a PDF with a full tarot guide in it, and you put a lot of work into that.
Yep.
So that's available on
Yeah.
your Buy Me a Coffee. And I have the address here. Let me find it.
That's the
Okay.
one. Yeah. The
I think this
genius
is
one. Yeah,
correct. It's
exactly.
yeah, right. Buy me a coffee forward slash
Thank you. Yeah.
GENIYOUS. Yes. So definitely,
Yes.
I recommend people to go out there and check that out. And we just finished up the elemental grade of Earth, where we begin our
Mm.
journey at 00 neophyte, and now
Mm.
we'll be going into the air. So that'll be fun.
Mm.
So how is
Mm.
your practice going? What have you been up to? I've been working through the minor arcana of the swords, and I've been doing one a day. I've been doing my tarot contemplations, dream journaling, and magical manifestations of things in addition to my ritual work. But we should be on for me, it will be day 16, 17, 18, 19. So I'm on like day 19, and it's the Four of Swords, which is entitled The Lord of Rest from Strife. Now, in
That's right.
studying the minor arcana as we go through the first four elemental grades of the magical path, it doesn't mean that you should necessarily associate or affect with those energies. It just means that you should contemplate them and better understand them when you later use tarot for your own path working and stuff. But yeah, how has your practice been going? What have you been up to?
Well, I can do a quick recap of the Earth first, and then we go into air. So, Earth, of course, was all about creating order in your environment. We're talking about Malkuth. We're talking about, for those of you who aren't familiar with that, Malkuth is the earthly sphere in the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, which I think is a fantastic guide, really, to explore. And so we're looking at anything to do with physical health, your business relationships, anything to do with wealth, and everything in your environment. So um, I did a spring cleaning, although it's autumn here. I did a spring cleaning, and of course, we were also working on expanding your business. I have two new exciting business relationships that I'm working with. I have been doing lectures and giving talks on hypnotherapy, which is my business, of course, as well. And just getting my house in order in everything. As part of daily rituals, you may agree with this, that doing something like the Kabbalistic cross, the LBRP, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, those are standard for starting anything. Having a sort of a temple space, or at least an altar space where you can do some of this. On top of that, I created my own invocation ritual, right? Because it's all about pulling the energies of the universe towards you, of what you want to accomplish and what you want to have more of. So it's a ritual, in the truer sense of the word. And a ritual that you create yourself, I think, is much more powerful than something you read from a book. So be inspired by what you've been studying here, make it your own, and then go with it. And feel free to adjust it as you go along, just like with the RHJ's famous book, It Works. Make a list of the things that you want to have in your life and read that list daily. Make adjustments to it. Take things away if you don't think that they are as powerful or as useful, or add new things to it. But it's about having in your mind an image of where you want to be in your life and what you want to pull into your life and what you want to manifest. So that is what it is to have this pathway of step by step creating these habits of being perhaps a force for your own good in the world, right? Of not being passive and reactive, but rather active and proactive in what you want to accomplish. So Earth focused on the environment, your relationships, your health, your everything that is tangible. And now we're moving into air. And air is the intellectual exercise. So for me, that means I'm doing one or two things that are helping me. Number one, quitting social media. Well, still watching videos, still getting news and whatnot, but no more of the scrolling, the scrolling on the phone of, basically tapping out and being someone who's simply receiving other people's ideas. This is the time of perhaps building a little bit of wall between you and other people's ideas so that you can work fully on your own and manifesting the ideas that you have. So for me, that means that I'm working on a novel. I'm writing a novel, right? Who isn't? But I'm writing a novel, which I've been working on for a while. And now this is a dedicated time for me to do something that I love and that I'm really, really passionate about. So that's where I am right now.
Okay.
That was a little bit of
did I yeah, no problem. Did you lose me in the transmission there for a moment?
For about 4 or 5
I think
seconds.
it bumped me out.
I think.
Okay.
Anyway,
I do
so that was a little bit of a recap.
Yeah. And I agree with you.
You're back.
Yeah, sure. And I'm good. I wanted to comment a little bit too about building ritual work for yourself as well. I agree with that 100%. I totally endorse it. I have taken and reworked the LBRP for a grander invocation ceremony as well, and I've added elements from the Chinese esoteric tradition as well, and I use it as a full ceremony, and then I integrate those aspects of the elemental grades and items that I'll arrange them on my altar depending on what
Mm,
type of ritual work I've been doing. And
mm,
recently, I've been getting back into Israel. Regardi did a whole series of various invocations to various gods in the Egyptian pantheon. So you can look it
yeah.
up. They're here on YouTube. You can find them and listen to them. But they set the groundwork for really powerful apotheosis type of magic that you can do on your own.
Mm,
And some of the language in it, I really like it a lot, and so I use it in some of my own ritual work. But not all of it serves me directly. Some of the gods I'm unfamiliar with. Some of the barbarous names don't mean much to me, and so I do take out some things and put in some things of my own. But there's an invocation of Tahuti or Thoth, invocation to the god of magic. So that's a good one for charging yourself up
mm,
at around the time of the full moon. He also has an invocation
mm,
to Horus, an invocation to Isis, and to invocation to Kephra. So I think they may be built. I'm not entirely sure about their history exactly, but in part,
mm,
I know it's Golden Dawn material, but it may be like greater development of the Liber Resh Vel Helios or the Book of Adorations throughout the day that you do. So keeping
yeah, yeah,
those in
yeah.
mind as well, if folks are still practicing their adorations or at least taking a moment. I know some
Mm,
people are more practice it more religiously, but taking a moment at the four quarters of the times of the day to observe and connect with your spiritual energy more and more. So good. I wanted to read a little bit from
yeah.
the Suit of Swords here in the Magical Tarot. It says that
Yep.
the swords cards are dignified. When they're dignified, they signify the successful passage of ideas from the spiritual part of ourselves through to normal brain consciousness. So we see this transition of like those things we've put into the other than conscious mind coming back into conscious realization. And it says this may take the form of an inspiration, which, if acted on, will lead to the solution of a difficulty or dilemma that has been worrying the querent. The suit of swords dignified also shows honesty of speech, pure, clear communication, and the
Mm,
intrusion into our lives of hard facts that threaten to bring our castles in the air crashing down around our heads. And he says, for this last reason, swords are often seen as unwelcome visitors when they appear in tarot spreads. And you will notice if you look through the swords cards, because they're in the realm of mentation and ideation, they do tend to have
mm,
more negative imagery, right? Like the three of
mm,
swords shows a pierced heart, and then
mm.
the Four of Swords shows rest after battle. The five shows them engaging in battle. Seven shows like theft and deception, and the nine shows a
Eight.
slain,
Yeah.
person slain with swords, and then the 10,
That's
or
number
yeah,
10. Number
the
10.
eight,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then
Yeah. Eight
the
is
nine shows a
someone
person in
in
bed
bed with
weeping.
swords. Yeah. So, but I think you can also make the parallel between swords and, for example, the tower, which is one of the major arcana, which is that which you see in the tower. It's about lightning coming crashing down and people falling from the tower, and the main symbol there, or the main symbology, is change, right? Um, we hold in my work, of course, in hypnotherapy, people hold on to ideas. I mean, you identify with an idea that might not be yours through our upbringing, through friends around us, through
Right.
messages through the media, or whatever else happens. We sort of identify with
Sure.
something,
Yeah.
right? And then we hold on to that idea. But holding on to an idea that doesn't serve you can lead to this sort of maybe angst of some sort. And it goes to the point where change is inevitable. Um, and that can feel very unwelcome, but it's not necessarily unwelcome, right? If change is coming, what do you have to do? Well, you have to adapt to it, steer it, or succumb, right? And like I said earlier, don't be reactive, be proactive, especially with your ideas, I think. And that's what the swords in the air is to me. That get your house in order, but in here this time rather than the physical world. So again, work on what you have, and this is the
Right,
time
right.
to this is the time to be willing to look inward, and see what's going on. And yeah, build your strength, mental strength, emotional strength. The time is now, indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that strategic adaptation is so important. And the other thing I think we tend to forget sometimes is as we're climbing the path of the major arcana, and we have these greater shakeups and changes in behavior, or we're adjusting and adapting and meditation and awakening to new things. We sometimes tend to forget that we were the impetus and the catalyst that brought about those things. And it may not feel exactly the way we had set out our parameters in wanting to achieve those, but that's the friction and the lightning bolts that are waking us up to, hey, you're going through that
Mm,
metamorphosis that you yourself wanted to bring about through your practice of magic or through
yeah.
your greater desire to transform. A lot of times people come at it and they want things like more money and a better house or a nicer car and stuff like that. And they're
Mm,
going about it because of maybe the lust for life, as it were, or the desire to push and pull at
mm,
those things. But when they empower themselves to think, how are these things going to greater serve me in the community, right? A better car will get me to and from work better, and I can, give rides to family and stuff like that. A nicer house will mean that I can entertain guests. I can organize more of my things in a more beneficial way. More money,
mm,
right? It's going to be great. It's money in and of itself. It's a very magical talisman that they have brought in. That the people of the world have brought forth to give us the power to have direct funding and be able to enjoy rich lives without toiling in the field all of the time. So it does
mm.
have that aspect of being able to free us up for greater
Something that I'd like to add to
magic.
that, a little bit of a
Please do
connection
so.
issue here, because I'm in Sweden and you are in China, right? But
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
one little aspect that I'd like to add about this is that this is a work in progress, and you can look at it from a microscopic level or a macroscopic level, right? If you're looking at it microscopic levels, like, okay, I'm doing this ritual, I'm doing this work, and I want to manifest this particular thing, and then it doesn't happen. But you're looking at it from a one-time event. This is a practice. Imagine yourself being a doctor, and after you go to medical school, you have one chance with one patient to do one change to help them get better. Well, it is a practice. You think you're going to get better over time. So if you practice medicine for 40 years, you're going to be a very good doctor who knows a lot about how things are working after a career in medicine. And doing magic the way we're talking about doing magic, it is a practice. So little by little, if you are aware of the things that you want to manifest and you're working daily over a long time to make these changes, you will notice how things are improving for you. And if you're looking at a larger scale, like you're doing, we're talking about generations. You're thinking about the generations that came before you and the generations that come after you. We're looking at making huge changes in order to create a better life for yourself and your family. And again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but being reactive and being the kind of person who is not in charge of your own destiny is going to lead to trouble, because then you're going to be part of somebody else's plans and dreams. So here, it's about manifesting those things that you want in life. And if you have that clearly in your mind of where you're going, then you are going to uh, reap the benefits. So this is a practice that, think of this as something that you do over time. This is one 100-day challenge. From day 1 to day 100, if you are following the protocol, following this course that we're basically presenting in a sense, who knows where you're going to end up? But you are constantly, you giving momentum, you're adding energy to this process of moving forward in life. You have your eye on the ball and you're looking at what you want to achieve. That's this challenge.
Right.
And then the next challenge and the next
Yeah.
challenge. And you continue to push this ball forward, moving towards newer goalposts, bigger goals, dreams that you want to manifest in the world. And this is a continuous practice. But that's the beauty of it, that you can, over 100 days, you'll see some changes. And I've joined you now on 2 previous 100-day challenges, and they always leave me fired up for the next one, because I've seen these beautiful things happen in my life that sort of inspire me to say, okay, I'm definitely keep going with this. I'm gonna, get my rituals in order and like add just spending 5 minutes in the sunshine every day, or and just like taking a moment,
Yeah.
putting that
Connecting with
intention
the earth
in there.
element, connecting with the wind.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ones we've gone through recently have been really great. And for me personally, in making breakthroughs, like we just did the astral projection one prior to hypnoapotheosis. And in that one, like I made real breakthroughs in my dream work and getting into dreamland, because one of my long goals, and I like the fact that you put it into this, it's a long-term thing. Like in Kung Fu, they always use the old axiom of, if you want to learn a certain movement in Kung Fu, you have to do it 10,000 times, So
Right.
when you think of it in those terms, it looks like if you do it once a day, it's going to take you 27 years, but if you do it 10 times a day, it's only going to take you 3 years. So you have to, and of course, it's Kung Fu and magic do have some similarities. It is the process of internalizing and visualization and then actualizing it.
But yeah, I completely agree with you. It's all about keeping that ball rolling forward, right? So in the previous challenges, I didn't join the astral projection one, but I joined the first magic one. And then the hypnoapotheosis, we were co-teaching, because that was based on hypnotic work as well. And now this one, it's still the same idea. It's still the same idea that if you have read or listened to the audiobook of It Works by R.H.J., it came out in the 1920s. It's a very old, but it's a simple idea. Write down your goals, read that list, adjust that list, keep going with that list, figure out what you want, keep that in mind, and then you start seeing the opportunities for making those changes so that you get closer to those goals daily, right? And the daily work is very, very important. So it's about, maybe habit creating is a part of this, certainly, right? So that's powerful work. Think of it on a macroscopic level, something that I sometimes like to call the historical perspective. You looking back
Yeah.
at life, if you're in your 20s, even, you can see huge changes in 10 years. If you're in your 30s, you can see huge changes from childhood till now. I'm 46, so I can see, the last 20 years I've managed to do some pretty remarkable things if I take a moment to think about it. And now I'm looking at
Right.
20 years into the future. Who knows where I'm going to be when I'm ready to retire? But if I don't have these goals, then I'm not part of my own plan. I'm not furthering my own ideas, and that to me is
Right.
a sin, in a sense, that that I have a tremendous opportunity to make friendships, build relationships, get things done that will improve my life and the people around me. I mean, I'm not working in a vacuum. Things that benefit me
Absolutely.
will
Yeah.
always benefit other people as well, because you share the love, right?
Yeah, I think that's well said. And the fact that you mentioned Crowley, I was just thinking about him and the breakthroughs that he made and how he brought forward the mental intention and the magical mind. And then Peter J. Carroll, he made some revolutionary breakthroughs too with his work in Liber Null and Cybernaut, in breaking away from these maybe false dichotomies or parameters that were set up, back in the 15th century, and now we're moving into a new
Mm,
eon. And I think that our psychic powers are becoming somewhat stronger because we do have more free time to engage in self-cultivation rather than laborious toil. Like, to bring it back to my colleague mentioned that, she's like, look at the regular laborers out there. They're up from dawn till dusk, just laboring all day
mm,
long. We have this rare and wonderful opportunity to cultivate spiritual gifts and to engage in music and art and other forms of business
mm,
practices and so on. So I think, yeah,
mm,
studying the magical path, it really is that you're going to learn to better fine tune what is my magical intention and how am I bringing it about, and then setting those parameters in place that will bring about your desired result more in line with what you
mm.
actually want. Because sometimes you think you want one thing and it's not actually what you want, or it's something that will do. So refining that magical intention is really a good practice in and of itself as well.
And that's something that you maybe discover over time, right? So have some patience with the process,
Right,
and
right.
whatever you do in life in general, if you have no process, no method that you've chosen, you find no way to measure it. It becomes haphazard. But here in this 100-day challenge, there is a method, there is a process, there is a certain set of ideas that commit to it for 100 days. That's it. 100 days is it's a blip on the radar. It's a blink of an eye in the long
Yeah,
historical
yeah,
perspective.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think it's a good enough amount of time that you can get a really decent understanding, a premise to the idea of the thing that we're studying. And as well, it's something you can look back on as a completed package, right? Or like a completed coursework. It's almost a semester of school, and we're endeavoring
Mm.
into things that are really going to benefit us throughout our entire lives. Like, we did the astral projection one, which is, internal visualization and path working. So it really gives you those
Mm.
tools to make better formations of what your desired intents are. And then we did
Yeah, yeah,
hypnoapotheosis,
yeah.
which was, you were the main source of our hypnotic techniques and methods. We learned how to control the vibration of the mind and get in better communication with the dreaming mind and so on and so forth. And now that we're on pathways of the magician, we're studying all of the various accoutrements of the Magi. And yeah, I probably said that magic was the art and science of uh, causing change to occur in the world in conformity to the magician's will, right? And then Peter J.
Mm.
Carroll, he brought it a step forward, I think, in that he also said it's breaking away of those chains that bind you, right? The material chains, like the chains of fate, like the zodiac, the chains of the internal organs, and being bound to the emotions. And
Yeah.
any of those chains of the older schools, um, the beautification or too much flowery representation of the robes and the accoutrements and stuff like that. He said you can bring all into the astral realm and do it all within the astral temple. And so I think those breakthroughs are really important. And I think the way you're talking about it as well, that we're doing our scientific documentation of it, we're doing our journaling, we're doing our record keeping. And so we are using a somewhat scientific approach to the magical methods.
Mm.
And
Yeah, yeah. One thing I wanted to mention there is that you mentioned Peter J. Carroll, who is an English chaos magician, and his excellent books, Liber Null and Psychonaut, talk a lot about this idea of breaking free from things and forging your own path. And you also mentioned Golden Dawn. I think it's about the affinity you have to these things, because for some people, I can imagine that a more structured approach like Golden Dawn would be more palatable, perhaps. And for other people, it's about exploring the limits of what you want to achieve and try all kinds of new and interesting ideas. And then perhaps Peter J. Carroll's books, Liber Null and Psychonaut, would be more appropriate. But that's all about your affinity to these things, I believe. So there is freedom within this course to set your own direction within it, obviously. So there is a framework within each element, some basic guidelines of dream journaling, having your own grimoire, of course, writing down the rituals and the ideas that you present, and just keeping a record of where you're going with it. Very, very good. We also have the tarot contemplation, which I think is a beautiful part of this, but you don't necessarily need to buy your own tarot deck. You can certainly find images of this online and see how the different tarot decks depict the different images. Like for today, we're looking at the Four of Swords, and my deck looks like this. It's slightly washed out colors, but the imagery is still there. We have rest after battle. We have swords above, and the four of any tarot suit is also one of stability. So it's a day of perhaps taking into account of what you have been doing so far and finding a base, a station, a platform before you move on to the next. So there are various aspects that you feel perhaps more in tune with, and then you go in that direction, because this is about creating your own rituals as well as following the ideas that Frater Francis is presenting, right? I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, right? Yeah, your volume is a bit low, simply because you switched away from your regular headset.
Okay. Yeah, it
That's
broke connection.
better.
So I'm experiencing the technical difficulties that one does when dealing with modern technology. It's just amazing that we have it to begin with, and I'm super appreciative that everybody's able to tune in. I think we've got a little longer than we had intended to, though, for today. So I think I'll wrap it up and say thank you to you, Tomas, for joining this transmission. And I'm going to get that laptop figured out. I'm going to get that microphone figured out. By next week, we'll be up and running. We'll be nearing the elements of water, but we're not quite there yet if we're on day 4.
Well, we're not even halfway there, but we've moved 2.5 weeks into the process, basically. And it's a 100-day challenge. So I hope everyone is enjoying it so far and seeing some things coming from this work that we're all doing together. I'm personally very excited about this because it's a beautiful process to figure out what you want and creating the framework and creating the paths that are moving you forward, and taking some time to look deeper into how you want to keep moving and what kind of a person you want to be, right? So this is about creating these habits and keeping in mind your goals and dreams that you want to manifest in the world. That's what magic is, right? Set an intention, work towards it, build on it, perhaps asking the universe for a bit of help, and maybe humble yourself a little bit towards this process and this greater work, your magnum opus. That's what it is, right? Your great work of becoming the person that you want to be and seeing the things that you want to see in your life, right? And if you're working towards it and finding the opportunities that are bringing you closer to these things, that's worth its weight in gold. It's just a beautiful process of moving towards what you want, rather than being someone caught in a current of somebody else's device, somebody else's making. So that's what magic is to me, anyway. And I feel very honored that Frater Francis is inviting me to be part of this journey and to be part of the voice, perhaps, to build this together. Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap up. So once again, thank you so much for having me on here today. And I'm looking forward to our next... Yeah, technical problems, eh? Yes. All right. Signing off from Sweden. Good luck. Stay safe. Do good magic. All right.